All right.
We're live, John.
We are live streaming.
That's my video.
All right. And do that and that. All right. It's a Thursday night. We're going to do a Las Vegas. Well, we just lost Bob. No,
No, you
now he's
didn't.
back. It's a Thursday night. We're going to do a Las Vegas spotlight, maybe with the three of us, maybe with two of us by the end of this call. So tonight we've got Eric Scott as our guest. Hey, Eric, how's it going?
Very good. Very good.
Awesome. It may be you and I at the end of this. We'll see. But you just got back from nationals, and I'm really excited to hear about your report for that race. And we've got Bob Gamble, who is currently in the airport getting ready to board for a plane. Hey, Bob.
Hey, how you doing? Well, this is uncharted territory for me, so we'll see if this works.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let's, Bob, maybe go ahead and start with the official introduction. We're a little off our scheme already, but that's okay. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, John, and thanks a whole lot for being here with us tonight, Eric. That's pretty cool. And
Pleasure.
for the folks who are listening, Eric, he's got one of the most unique stories of the club. He joined the club in September of 2022, started doing triathlons in August of 2022. And I'm going to ask him a little bit about, how he got started on this, but his first, and not if this is correct here, your very first triathlon was the Las Vegas Olympic, right?
That's right.
And
yeah.
which you won, right?
Crazy.
People just don't do that, Eric. I mean, you just don't win your first of all, your first triathlon is typically a sprint, not an Olympic. And then you did an Olympic, and not only that, but you won it. And not only did Eric win the Olympic, but he also qualified for the Nationals. So, and I can't wait to talk about his performance at Nationals. And I looked at the times and I went, was this a sprint? I mean, the guy, he blasted through the swim, bike, and the run in just an amazing time. And this was because, and I'm going to let him tell the story instead of me dictating it. So get us started, Eric. Your first year is really stellar. I mean, in your first year, tell us what triathlons you did, and it's just amazing. You started swimming in August of 2022. That's when you started swimming, and you won your first triathlon. So talk about this, would you please?
Yeah, I think, I started during COVID where we were just kind of stuck in the house a lot, and we were, working from home at that point, and I needed to get out, I needed to get in the sunshine and move around a little bit. So I started running a little bit. And, I remember running my first mile and needing a couple of days to recover because, my feet hurt and my calves are burning up. And about 3 or 4 days later, I'd get out and try it again. And then, that just kind of turned into 3 days a week. And then it got to summertime and it got hot. So I started riding my bike. It was just some, old 10 speed that I had, but I started getting that out. And then a couple of years go by and I kind of continued to progress a little bit. And I think I was following somebody on YouTube that kind of, got me off in the algorithm to triathlons. And I thought, maybe if I learned how to swim, I could probably try to do a triathlon because, my distances that I'm running and biking aren't that far off. And so I got a pass for the Desert Breeze pool and try to teach myself how to swim. I'd never swam a lap before. So it was like
Never
first
swam
goal
a lap before.
No, I had, I've been in pools obviously, or, can swim in there, but mostly as standing up, I feel pretty comfortable. Could swim, but never swam a lap. And that's a lot different. Breathing underwater or, breathing, coming up for air is, it's doing a freestyle stroke is completely different than the backyard pool. So eventually got to, 1 lap and then 2 and then 500 meters. And I was like, the race is coming up in about 4 weeks from that point. So I just went in like 5 days a week and just kept trying to get further and further until I could get to that 1500, meter mark without having to stop. And it was definitely the hardest of the 3 disciplines to get up to speed on. But then, I got in that first triathlon and I think I got really lucky with lack of participants or something, because there's no reason I should have won that. But I think there was a lot of people getting ready for the Worlds in St. George or something at that time. And then they also had like a long distance as well. So I think some people got spread out and there wasn't as many competitors. But somehow I got first, and that got me to qualify for nationals, and which I didn't realize until maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. So through my journey through triathlons, I think the second one that I did was Pumpkin Man, which is a totally different experience with a big hill going
It's
up into
not
the
easy
town.
either.
No, that's not easy. So that kind of got me. I think who knows where I would have been if I hadn't got first. Maybe I would have been 10th or something, and maybe didn't have the motivation. But that definitely gave me some encouraging thoughts to maybe something I could do, continue, something I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the competition and being out with everybody out in the course, and just kind of got that bug. So got through September and October, and then there's kind of a long lull through the winter, and so I just kind of kept up at it, running when I could, and swimming. I'd only swim probably about once a week, through the winter time. But there's a race coming up in April in Texas. It was a marathon that I wanted to participate in a marathon. So I started training for a marathon, having never ran more than a 5K at that point, or a 10K for the Olympic. And then so really just focus on the marathon through the winter, and then that just continued to like build up my running endurance and help me out. So when I came back in, I think it was April, Rage. I did Rage, and then I was able to get second place there, which is fine. I certainly don't race for the places. I'm trying to just better myself and do hard things. I think that's really where it started at, was I wanted to be healthier. I was at 220 pounds. I think I'm at 183 now. So
Whoa.
through this journey, I've been able to get healthier. I wanted to try, something really hard, something that seemed, not impossible, but something that was difficult to achieve. And when I started thinking about swimming and doing the other two events together, that seemed like a goal that was, really setting the bar high, something that I would have a difficult time maybe even completing it. And I didn't, at the time, I didn't even know if I'd be able to complete it. And
Hey, Eric, let me stop you here before we get going too far. There is so much to unpack with what you just talked about. I mean, I would forget half of it, but the one of the themes of this month's newsletter is big challenges, big rewards, and it sounds like you had a huge challenge, your first race being an Olympic, and the reward was so big that it prompted you to go on and said, "Oh, this is cool." Motivation, is that, am I correct there?
yeah, it's like, I'm trying to, prove that I can lose the weight, and prove that I can be healthy, and prove that I can get better and try hard things. And so my year has been like trying to prove myself right, that I can do hard things, and because of that, I learn and I grow a lot about myself, about my community, about my family. There's
Mhm.
nothing negative that comes along with that, at least not so far. I'm sure I could easily go overboard with this, and train too much, and take time away from the things that are other things in my life that are valuable to me. But I try to balance all those, and
Right.
so balancing my health, you can overtrain and hurt yourself too. So I got to really be careful with that. But at the same
Wow,
time,
you've only been doing this a year and you've already figured that one out. It's like a lot of people will gain fitness at the cost of their health, and it's something
yeah,
you have figured that out.
yeah, I'm trying. I'm learning as I go, and it's it definitely helps to be part of this club. It's such a great community, and there's people that I've been able to be in contact with and text back and forth, or on Facebook Messenger, whatever, meeting at the clubs or the events locally, and talking to them, and having some sort of a community that makes you feel like there's something that's bigger than yourself, helping other people out as they go through that journey as well.
That's awesome.
Definitely something that fills me up.
And there were two other things, and he's gonna jump in and ask you. We're gonna talk about your race, your nationals, which was just a stellar performance. So, but before we go there, there was something else I wanted to talk about. And your very first race, you hadn't done open water swimming, and then you did a 1,500-meter open water swim. Um, Tell me what that was like.
Yeah, it was I did do an open water swim. I think I came down with some of the other members of the club the month of September. knowing that, through the chatting with the people in the club saying, hey, you definitely need to, practice open water swimming. It's a lot different than swimming in a swimming pool. And it's something that you want to get used to and not take on, a race without at least attempting it. So I was able to do that and, got a swim buoy and went out with the group of people and, lo and behold, it was night and day different, from, I think my watch, when I got back, it was like zig, 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 zig. I just couldn't swim in a straight line, which it didn't had to occur to me because I was swimming in a pool the whole time. So that was a big learning curve, and I had to go back immediately and learn, how to sight,
Mhm.
make sure, because it's a really crucial part. Like if you're not a good swimmer, the last thing you want to do is swim an extra couple hundred yards because you can't swim straight.
All right. No, totally. And I see Bob's mic is muted. So Bob, I don't know if you had a follow up, but I'll jump in and I'll say, this is really impressive, Eric. I've been watching you get faster with each race, and you're in a very tough age group. You're 45, 49, right?
Yeah.
And so it's amazing that in your first race you get, top on your age group, and then you continue this sort of, progression, which is really very impressive. But you talked about getting involved with triathlon in terms of taking on the challenges. I want to know, because now you've got the bug. What was it like at the end of that first one where you finished it? How soon after that one did you say, "Oh, I'm going to sign up for another one"?
It was pretty, I mean, before I left the event for sure.
Hmm.
I remember getting back and talking to my wife, and I was like, yeah, I think I did a great job.
Yeah.
How did I finish? I said, I think I got fifth place.
Yeah.
It's like, but that first triathlon on the run, it was like a double loop. And so I was watching people's legs and seeing where they're, Olympic on there and their age. And I was trying to track and see where I was at with my competitors. I was like, I think I got fifth place. This is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And then she went and printed off the ticket. She's like, you got first.
Hey.
Like, no
I
way.
think it's pretty obvious you picked your parents well too. Yeah, you had some pretty good performances.
Yeah, it's just, that's what it's about. So for me, it's each time I'm trying to get better. And so,
Mhm.
I've learned a tremendous amount every time I do an event. Mistakes I've made and watching and observing other people and seeing what they've done to
Mhm.
that it's different than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then I just try to go back and apply that. And I think the result of that has been, a faster split, swim, bike, run every time I've been out there for the
Mhm.
most part. It hasn't always worked out that way, but certainly my time has come down each time. I think the first Las Vegas triathlon was 3 hours and 5 minutes. And then this most recent nationals was 2 hours and 28 minutes.
Mhm.
So, I feel like taking a minute off is a big deal. And for me to take off, 37 minutes
Yes.
it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I've been like I said, I've been watching you each race, and you just keep getting faster, and that's really fun. But I really love this mindset that you're not trying to necessarily place on podium in age group or what have you. You're taking it as a challenge, and you're really working towards it to improve and enjoying that part of it. So I do want to jump over to nationals, because that looked like a fantastic event. We exchanged some messages. I've always wanted to do that race. I've never gone. So tell me, what was it like getting there, and how soon before the race did you get there, and what was it like being around all those other athletes?
Yeah, so I flew out Thursday morning. I left here like our plane was supposed to leave at 9. It ended up leaving like a little afternoon. And then, there's a couple hours flight and a couple hours time difference. I think we got back to the Airbnb around 7 p.m. that night. So I was hoping to go down and get some recon, on the course before that, but wasn't able to. So we went out Friday, also anticipating being able to do a little bit of that. But once we got there, I was a little surprised because I didn't realize, how big of an event that really was. But we had to do a mandatory bike check. So I brought my bike in on Friday to check in my bike, and was just starting to get overwhelmed when I saw how many bicycles there were in transition. I mean, there was a sea of bicycles. I'm talking thousands and thousands of bikes.
Oh,
It was there were only two divisions, the Olympic and the sprint. So I was like,
oh,
kind of overwhelmed, thinking there's a lot of competitors here. This is a big
oh,
deal. And they had all the roads closed 100% for all the events, and so we weren't able to get out on the course unless you wanted to go by foot or a scooter or something like that. So that was kind of nerve-wracking for me, not, having been able to see the run and the bike and understanding where the turns would be at. But they had the place so well marked, and there were so many volunteers there. There was a cone like every 5 yards, it seemed like, on the entire course. So it was pretty obvious where you're going. Plus, there was just so many competitors that you couldn't really get lost or get turned around too much. So
Wow.
and then also they had the U.S. Open, so that the men's and the women's professionals there competing for, I think it was like a $600,000 purse in total. The winner got 100,000, I think second place 50, and so on and so forth. But that was, for me, that was the highlight of the trip, was being able to watch them. And there's a lot of these men and women that I've seen in the last year, as I've kind of went on this triathlon journey, and I've watched their videos, and a lot of them have their own YouTube video that they're posting on pretty regularly.
Mhm.
So to see them in person, it's like watching seeing a Michael Jordan or LeBron James or something like that.
Uh,
But yeah, to see Jan out there competing and doing so well at an older age. I mean, he's 41 compared to a lot of the younger professional triathletes that are out there. But seeing them in person was a lot different than I thought it would be. I mean, those athletes, I mean, they're built, they're thick, they're muscular, they're fast, they're really fast.
mhm.
And to be able to see them come through and come out of the water, and then go through the transitions like lickety split, like they don't waste any time. That was really cool to watch. The race, I was saying earlier that they had the bike and the run. I think we're on a 7-loop course, so they kept them close to the start and the finish, so that the competitors could watch them. So instead of just like an out and back where they come in and they're gone for 2 hours and then come back,
Mhm.
you could see them and you could watch them catching up. And they had cameras all up and down the course, so you could watch it on the big screen while you're there. And there was something like 22,000 people there watching
Mm.
the event. So it
Wow.
was huge crowds, and you could see every time they would come around, and the crowd would start yelling and screaming,
Yeah.
and they did get a smile on their face, but they'd be in complete pain, but they just couldn't help it because there was so many fans there cheering them on.
Oh, I love it. What That's so exciting to be, able to watch an event, not only participate in, but watch, because I always think you can pick up some neat things in watching, yeah, even professionals do a race, because they have everything down pretty tightly. Was there anything in particular you saw that you said, "Oh, I'm going to try that in one of your races"?
Yeah, there's been a couple races where I've come up short. Like we talked about, I'm not really chasing podiums, but I certainly want to improve my time and get faster. And I've noticed that my transition times haven't been so good. And so there's always room for improvement, whether it's the swim, bike, run, the transition, the fueling yourself is also another big component, I think, which I'll learn next month when I do a 70.3.
Oh,
I have to change my nutrition, I think, for that a little bit. But for me, like one of the biggest things was, even so, like Jan, he came out of transition, and he got to mount his bike on the other side of the line, and he forgot to take the bottom of his wetsuit off. And so he, even at that level, I mean, I don't know, he's been doing triathlon since he was 18 years old or something, and so he's still making mistakes. So that was encouraging, that we're all still making mistakes, and you get caught up into the race a little bit. But yeah, every one of them had, they all went out barefoot from the bike, and just did a running mount on their bike, and hopped on their seat and put their shoes in and took off. And I think that would be something that I'd be interested in learning, to see if that's something I'd want to do or not.
You gonna give that a try?
Yeah, I don't know. Certainly not this weekend, but I'm always worried about my toes and the
Oh yeah.
chains and the sprockets and stuff. But every one of them did it. And even the elite youth athletes that were there, that were going earlier in the day, every one of them had their bike set up with like rubber bands in the back of their shoes tied up to the bike. And that's just kind of the way that they were trying to shave off some time in the transitions.
Oh, I love it. All right, so now let's get back to your experience. I love that. That's great to get a sense of what you were seeing and what you can incorporate in your race and training as well. So I'm curious, the start for nationals, was it age group start, or was it a rolling start? How did they start you?
Yeah, they did age group. There was, several thousand competitors. So each age group was, uh, they're not all exactly the same size. Like it wasn't like they just took 100 competitors. I think there was 140 or so in my group, and
Okay. All
that
right.
was something that was intimidating for me for sure. I was like,
Yeah.
normally you get in these small groups, 10, 15, 20 people in a triathlon, and you can certainly, look around and see who your competition is in that day. But on this day for nationals, I was looking around and there was like all these one, they're all really tall. They're like 6'2", 6'3" men up there. And some of them look like they were 30 years old, like super fit, healthy, young. And it was just like a good group of people. And they just kind of bring you into the water, and then you have like 5 minutes to practice while the previous group got to get their start in the water. And then you swim over, and this one you had to hold your hand on the wall, on a dock, and then
Mhm.
they blew a horn, and then you just started to swim.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, my I, the last club event, I really struggled because in the water, like I was having a hard time breathing. It was actually probably my worst swim. It was like of all my events, it was my worst swim at the last aqua bike that we did. And I just didn't feel comfortable. I was having a hard time breathing. I was kind of panicking in the water a bit. Couldn't quite figure out how to calm down, and I had to really, fight my way through that swim.
Mhm.
So I thought maybe this time if I got out and maybe swam 100 yards or 50 yards and kind of got warmed up and, really got the water flowing over my face, and that it would help me. And so I started to go out as soon as we got in the water, and then the announcer came on and was like, hey, we're behind schedule. We're gonna have to get you guys started right away. So I was in the water for probably 30 seconds, less than a minute, and I had to go back to the wall. So it was like no practice swim.
Oh
Warm
no.
up.
Well, that's great that you recognized that that would be a good thing to try. It's terrible that you didn't get to really implement that plan. So what was it? So maybe at that point though, maybe it was just like, okay, we're just gonna go, and you got into the swim. But what was it like compared to your first race, which was a local race, BBSC, which we all enjoy, starting that race versus starting nationals? Was it a little different, the same, or
Yeah, I mean, for me, the first race that I did was probably a little bit closer just because I'd never done it. So there's a lot of nerves, and
no?
you're not sure really what to expect once you get in there with everybody in an actual race environment. And now, I think this was my eighth event of the year.
Mhm.
So it was, I guess, a little bit more used to it. And but the difference was it was national. So I think the stakes seemed a little higher. The energy around the event with the speakers, and the announcers and the celebrities, like the celebrity triathletes that are around. And, there's a lot of people there that I recognize from YouTube that were
Yeah.
walking around and shaking hands and saying hi to the other triathletes, before they, got ready for their professional day,
Mhm.
event later on in the afternoon. Because the pros went at like at 3:15 p.m. and we all went early in the
Yeah.
morning.
No.
But yeah, there's just crazy energy. It was just like, it
Yeah.
was like you could just feel it, in your body and your bones. And I couldn't wait to get in the water and get out there and start swimming and get the race on. It was probably the most excited I've been to, compete and to really try to prove myself right, which is, my goal was to get it under 230, which I hadn't done before. So I was really hoping that I could, at least get under 230. And I just did it at like 228.
That's
And
awesome.
just to put that in perspective for folks who are listening, um, Eric averaged 23 miles an hour on a bicycle
Yeah.
and then ran his 10K and averaged 7:46 miles. I mean,
Mhm.
that's incredible. So you were talking about these stars. You're right up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I was, I did a San Diego triathlon earlier in the year in June. And it's weird because I think I've only done two. This would be my third full Olympic. The other ones are kind of close to Olympic. I think Sand Hollow and Utah was like 20 miles on the bike or so, maybe 21. It was a little bit short on the bike. And so it wasn't a good measurement as far as a full Olympic, the full distance. And what I wanted to do is really push myself on the bike so that, I would struggle through the run. I wanted to make sure that, I didn't leave too much on the bike and then could finish the run faster because I really can't run that fast. And for me, I mean, to do 7:15 is remarkable for me. It's like I can't even hardly believe it, but you just get in with the right group of people and you start chasing, and it's the energy, and you get caught up in the moment, and all your training is coming together for that one moment, so you just try to make the most of it. And when I did San Diego, it was my fastest swim, fastest bike, and fastest run I've ever done, practice or not. And to do
Wow.
all those in one race, I mean, I think it was the adrenaline of the race itself that got me caught up to be able to step up to that level. But yeah, it was a great race. And then the bike was pretty fast. It was, more hilly than I thought it would be. I was expecting it to be, like dead flat, but
Yeah,
it was not like Vegas. So I think we definitely have an advantage training in Vegas because I haven't found a flat spot yet,
that's right.
That's right.
run
That's
or
right.
bike.
Yeah,
So
that is amazing, especially like I said, 23 miles an hour. That's just crazy. And I can't wait to see what you have coming down down the pike, because in your first year to do that, that's just incredible. So,
yeah, I got a bike. Somebody I met at the pool sold me his old triathlon bike because he was doing Ironmans, and he stepped up and bought a new bike. So he sold me his triathlon bike for like $500. And I think that helped me throughout the year too, is because I went from a regular old, you know, 10-speed bike to an actual
wow.
triathlon bike. And so I, recently trying to get used to being in the aero position has helped me a lot. I think it shaves off some time for sure. And I feel like because the bike is somewhat easier, then it leaves more on my legs for the last, leg of the race.
Oh, I love it. And yeah, as Bob said, you had a fantastic bike and run segment. That is so cool. I'm curious, what was the finish line like coming in at nationals?
Yeah, it was crazy because I'd watched some races up to it, so I knew like what the finish would look like. But to see, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 people at the age group, standing aside and cheering somebody on. It wasn't me, but somebody would get cheered on. But you can see yourself up on the big screen, and they have this long blue carpet for the finish, and they have the times up on the top, and so you feel like all the things that you've seen on television, that now you're a part of that.
Right.
And so the finish was great to be able to run down that chute and finish across the finish line with all the other competitors and all the fans that are around there, and everybody was just so gracious and cheering you on the whole way, whether it's on the run or the bike. And so
Yeah.
it's definitely a great experience to see, not to take anything away from our local events, but to see. And I haven't done an Ironman. I imagine it's probably similar with that quantity of people there, but this event was a little bit different because I think there was something like 30 or 40,000 people in all, between the racers and their families and all the vendors that were there selling their products. And so just having, it was just a really large event, and the energy was certainly a lot different than showing up to Lake Mead for Pumpkin Man or something like that.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, what a neat experience to have that type of big race feel. So I'm curious, what's on the horizon for the
Yeah.
rest of this year or 2024?
What's next? Are you going to do Indian Wells? I know you were thinking about it.
Yeah, so Indian Wells is in December, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, December
Yeah.
4th, I believe.
So yeah, so I haven't signed up for that, but I did sign up for Santa Cruz, which is September 10th, which is only just a few weeks away,
Hmm.
maybe 4 weeks, I guess it is. So now I've got to really change my mindset and figure out how to transition into a 70.3 distance, which is double the Olympic. And again, I'm going into a lot of firsts, right? So there's been a lot of firsts this year. First half marathon, first marathon, first Olympic. I think the event that we had at the club for the sprint was my first sprint,
Hmm.
first aqua bike. It was like there's a lot of firsts this year, and the 70.3 will be another one. But I haven't never rid a bike for 50 miles straight, and so you
Oh,
know
you're going to kill it.
I gotta figure out how to pace myself so I can finish that 50 miles and
Oh,
still be able to run a half marathon afterwards. And
You
I
know,
haven't, and I've never still have never swim the distance for a half yet either. So I
oh,
think it's like 1,900 meters,
oh.
if I'm
I
not
can't wait to
mistaken.
have you on a second time because we can't even ask you what your favorite distance is yet. You know, it's like
Yeah.
sprint.
I have
Olympic,
a feeling it's going to be the Olympic distance, but I
or
just don't
you
know.
seem to excel at that for sure.
Yeah, it just seems like anything other than that, it's going to be for me personally, I think it'd be hard for me to make the transition to train, additional hours and I'm already training. And I think that might be the quantity of training. The volume would be, I have to increase the volume for a 70.3 distance if I did it consistently. And it's a lot of time commitment to do the Olympic, and I'm already 5-6 days a week, 1 to 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
And to do 70.3 I think would be a much larger commitment that I don't think I'm prepared to do just yet, but I'll let you know mid-September after I finish that first race.
Well, I think I
I
love
look forward to that.
I love the approach that you're taking, and it's about taking on these challenges. And you're doing these races. Every race you're learning, so you've got the right mindset. And so, Eric, this has been so good to hear about your start in triathlon and the races that you've done, and really, I'm looking forward to seeing what you've got next. And I'm looking forward to seeing you this Sunday at our club race. So that'll be fun. So thank you for doing this spotlight.
Yeah, actually, and you're pretty inspiring. I don't know if you realize that or not. You know, just the way you have accelerated so much, got so fast so soon, and your attitude about
Well, I appreciate you
racing
saying
yourself.
so. I put a lot of work in, and like I said, I try to get better and improve, and it's fun learning, failing and finding where there's opportunities to get better, and
Mhm.
just finding little tricks or different ways of training that help you get better. I think those are things that you can apply in life as well. It's not just
Yep.
in sport. And
Mhm.
so I think that's what it's about for me, is just growing and learning, and the improvement just kind of helps
Mhm.
reinforce the fact that I'm putting the work in and learning and growing.
You
I
better be
love it.
careful, Eric. We're going to tap you for a newsletter article. You've got
All
some
right.
good wisdom and good points.
Awesome. Well, Eric, thanks again for doing this. It's been great talking with you.
Yeah, it's been great to be on. And before we go, I just want to make sure that, to thank you guys for everything that you do. I know it can't be easy taking the time to do these events, and you're both working and training yourselves, and we get a lot out of these videos. I probably wouldn't be here today if you guys weren't doing these. So thank you.
Well, thank you for the kind words. That's
Yeah,
really nice.
appreciate
And
your appreciation.
we've got a wonderful community, and it's great that you're a big part of that. So, all right. Well, hey, have a great night. Bob's got to get on his plane. Thanks, everyone.
Yep,
Have a safe
we
flight,
are
Bob.
All
boarding.
Good
right.
night.
So good timing. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks
All
again,
right.
Eric. It was wonderful having you on.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.